So, you want to become a pilot in 2024 and you don't know where to get started or what the process looks like. Well, you're not alone, as many people don't really know what the process is when they're getting into this. You'd swear it's some big secret, but I'm going to let you in today. I'm going to go through my list. I'm going to tell you exactly how to get to where you want to go in your career. So, roll the intro. All right, so it's 2024. You want to become a pilot. Where do we start? Well, that's easy. The first step that we want to take to become a pilot in 2024 is you want to take a discovery flight. So start out by Googling flight schools near you. They're everywhere. And go try a couple different schools. I recommend taking 2 or 3 discovery flights. They're going to run you roughly $200 a flight. You'll get roughly about a half an hour flight at each. You'll get to see the school and stuff like that. Some go into depth like I do in a discovery flight. Some people will bring you in, throw you in the plane, take you up, let you fly for a half hour, bring you down, and kick you out the door. Or kick you to their recruit or anything like that. But you want to go and you want to take a discovery flight, and you want to take more than one discovery flight because, let's be honest, aviation is an expensive industry to get into. So you want to make sure that this is something you really enjoy and want to pursue before you really start investing in your future to follow this new career path. The second thing you want to do, which would be next, is go get your medical. The medical seems to be what kind of hampers most people from becoming pilots. So here's what I recommend that you do. First off, you need to go and you need to get a medical done. You need to find an AME, an Aviation Medical Examiner. There's a list on the FAA website. You can find one near you. Schedule an appointment. Now, there's 2 types of appointments that you can make. You can do a consultation or you can do the exam. What I recommend to all of my students is once you find the AME that you want to go to, schedule a consultation first before the actual exam. So that way you can go in, you can talk with the person, and everything is off the record at that point as far as the FAA is concerned. Now, I'm not saying you're doing this to circumvent the FAA. I'm saying you're doing this that way you can go in, you can find out if there's anything that's going to hamper you when it comes to doing the actual exam with the FAA, so you can start working ahead. So everybody in aviation knows, like, if you have an ADD and ADHD diagnosis somewhere in your past, or you're taking some certain medications or anything like that, you're going to get a deferral to the FAA to dig into your medical, and it's going to become a long, lengthy, expensive process. So what you can do through this consultation is you can bring all of this stuff up, and they're going to let you know what you need and what the FAA is going to need as part of that deferral process. This way, before you really kind of get your hopes up and get them squashed, because you might be sitting in this deferral process for 6 months to a year or even more, it just depends on what the issues are, you can start working ahead. You can start gathering your medical information. You can start gathering all of the documentation that they're going to need. You can work ahead in this process so that way when you do go back to get the actual exam and you do get deferred to the FAA, you have everything pretty much ready to go. Now, they're still going to want you to go and see their people to kind of get cleared and go through their process, but it's going to make it a lot easier for you and a lot less stressful if you've worked ahead and already gotten a lot of this stuff prepared and ready to go to submit to them. So that's my advice, is always do the consultation before the exam, so that way you can work ahead. You know what hoops you're going to have to jump through to be able to get that medical, to be able to move on and go to flight school and become a pilot. All right, so the next one is picking out your school. So there's 141 schools, there's Part 61 schools. I made a video comparing the two. It really doesn't matter which one you choose. Choose the one that works best for you and what is near you, and one that you had a good experience with, hopefully, during your discovery flight. So once you're in there, you're going to start your flight training. You're going to have to get what's called a student pilot certificate on a website called IACRA. Your CFI will be able to help you go through that process and file for it, because they're going to have to sign off on you anyway to become a student pilot. So then you're going to get your fancy little green card from the FAA that says student pilot on it and stuff like that. And you're going to begin your training. Also at this time is you'll be able to start doing your ground school and preparing for your written tests, because there's 3 tests to become a pilot at every single level. There's the FAA written, there's the oral, which is now being referred to as the ground portion of your check ride, and the flight portion to your check ride. So you're going to have to really know this material to get through, and that's where becoming a student and working through that process is going to help. There's also going to be hour requirements through each different level and stuff like that. But again, this is where you pick your school, you become a student pilot, and you start training. So the next step is private pilot. There are other ones. There's sport pilots and light sport pilots, and there's a whole world out there. I'm just going to be specific with the process that I know and kind of what I deem to be the easiest process and what I teach in my school. So next would be private pilot. So when you're a student pilot, you are going to be training for the private pilot check ride. So as a student, you can't fly the plane by yourself without an endorsement from your CFI. And it's only by yourself at that point. So then you'll have to work, you'll have to learn the maneuvers, you'll have to get the flight time, everything else to become a private pilot. So you'll take your check ride. When you become a private pilot, now you can fly your friends and family around. You can fly during the day, you can fly at night, whatever you want. The only time you can't fly is when it's cloudy out. And it depends on where the clouds are, what type of day. There's a whole different thing we can get into discussing that aspect of it, but we're not going to do that in this video because that's not what this video is about. So just know, as a private pilot, you cannot fly through the clouds, and you can only get so close to them legally. So if it's an overcast day and the ceiling's at 1,000 feet and you're a private pilot, I wouldn't recommend flying that day because you really can't. Because you'd have to stay 500 feet below, so you can only fly at 500 feet, and that's not safe, especially if there's towers in the area and stuff. But again, that's not what this video is about. But as a private pilot, you will be able to fly during the day or at night with friends, family, whoever it is you want to fly, just not near or through the clouds. After you become a private pilot, we move into the next step, which is going to be our instrument rating. Now, some people will go do commercial next. I recommend doing instrument next. So instrument flying is flying solely reference to the instruments in front of you. You are not looking out the window. You're going to be wearing what's called a view limiting device. They have hoods that'll kind of come down and kind of block you like this. They have foggles that you can wear that'll kind of go over your glasses, or they look like glasses, but they're like they have like frosting on them and stuff, so you can only kind of see out like the bottom inside corners or just like the bottom straight across, because it's supposed to simulate like you're in the clouds. Because if you're flying in the clouds and you look out the window, you see nothing. You see cloud. So you have to fly solely in reference to the instruments within the airplane to know whether you're making a turn, whether you're descending or ascending. Anything else that's going on, you're doing by that. So you will learn how to do that to be able to go and legally do that by yourself. So you'll take the instrument check ride when you're done all of your training with that, and you'll become an instrument rated pilot. An instrument rating is an add-on to the private pilot rating. So you'll still be a private pilot with an instrument endorsement rating onto your card. So now you can fly your friends and family anytime, day, night, through the clouds, whatever. You'll learn the whole process. But that's pretty much what you're limited to doing. So after that, the next step in our process is to go for your commercial pilot's license. And this is where everybody says, ooh, I can go fly for Delta or anyone else after that. Wrong. As funny as it is, it's called a commercial license certificate, whatever. I'm not going to get into that argument here. You guys can argue that down in the comments below. I know people love to correct everybody on that it's not a license, it's a certificate, whatever. But next is commercial. Commercial does not give you the ability to go fly for the airlines. I'm sorry. But commercial does give you the ability to go and work certain jobs. But you'll go through that, and one of the biggest parts of commercial is time building. It's building experience. getting time in your logbook, flying around, doing all these cross-country flights. And then you're going to learn the commercial maneuvers, which is the Chandelle and the lazy eights and eights on pylons and the power off 180. And that's where you're going to be tested in all of these different maneuvers. So then you can go and you get your commercial certification. Well, congratulations, now you're a commercial pilot. What can you do? Well, there's a whole list in the FARs that says what you can and can't do as a commercial pilot. I'm not going to get into all of it because that alone could be a video within itself. It's very dry material, unfortunately. I can't make it very fun or entertaining for you. But what I can tell you is you can go and you can become a CFI, you can flight instruct, you can go do banner towing, you can do ferrying where you fly planes for owners all over the country with their planes. So basically, I bought a plane in Texas and I need it moved to Florida. I can then hire you to go to Texas and fly my plane to Florida to me. That's what ferrying is. You can go do agricultural, you can do tow pilots like for the gliders and stuff. All kinds of fun stuff that you can do once you become a commercial pilot. But no, you can't go fly for Delta as a commercial pilot. You won't have enough time in for that. Also after that is something I recommend is go get your multi-engine. And, you know, so far you've learned single engine, just one engine, one prop in front of you. Go get your commercial multi add-on. The reason I say that is because if you want to move into the jet world, just about all of them have more than one motor, one engine, whatever you want to call it. The Vision Jet by Cirrus has one. So there's that. But everything else that I'm aware of has two. So you're going to need multi-engine training and a multi-engine rating to be able to qualify for jobs to get into those type of careers. So again, we've done private, instrument, commercial. Now we're doing commercial multi add-on. And we've talked about the jobs that you can get. And once you get to commercial multi add-on, the jobs that you can do kind of open up a little bit, where you can go in, you can get into some Part 91 operations with like a low-time pilot jet job. They do have those out there. They are pretty difficult to get, so you really got to know somebody or have a pretty good resume to kind of back yourself up to be able to get those opportunities. But if you're sitting here and you're like, Joe, I want to go fly for Delta or Southwest or whatever it is you want to go fly for. So what we have to do at that point is you have to continue to build time. So you want to get one of those low-time pilot jobs, like I mentioned previously. Banner towing, CFI, ferry pilot, ag flying, anything like that. Buy a plane and just fly it around if you want. But you need to build time. You need to get to 1,500 hours total time in your logbook before you are eligible to go for the ATP certification. And I said ATP. I know there's a school out there called ATP. This is not that. This is Airline Transport Pilot Certification. Once you get 1,500 hours, you are then eligible to go and get that certificate. So then you would then be eligible to move into the major airlines, whether it's the 121 world, which is your airlines, or your Part 135 operations, which is like your fractional ownerships, your contract pilots, doing things like that, working for companies like NetJets and FlexJet, stuff like that. You need to have your ATP certificate to be able to get into those. So once you get there, great, you can go and get your ATP. Now, some people will say buy it on your own. Other people will say let whoever it is hire you pay for it. That's a personal decision for you when you get there. But hey, congratulations, you got 1,500 hours in your logbook. The federal government now says you are eligible to take this test, which makes you eligible to go and work and fly planes for these companies doing that. You can get into the regionals, you can go to the majors, you can go, like I said, Part 135 ops where you're going to charters and stuff like that, and you can fly jets for, I don't know, Joe Gibbs Racing if you really want to. If you like NASCAR, you can go. You could be the guy that just flew P. Diddy across the world so he can run from the country and run from law enforcement, allegedly. So, I mean, there's that. You want to do those type of things, you need to get your ATP license, your Airline Transport Pilot License certificate, and then you'll be eligible for that. But again, that's real basic rundown of what it takes to become a pilot and how to get yourself to the airlines or wherever it is that your goal is. So to just quickly recap all of that, it was do your discovery flight, it was get your medical, pick your school, get your student pilot certificate, start working on your tests, private license, instrument license, commercial license, then you want to do your commercial multi add-on, get yourself a low-time pilot job, work towards that 1,500 hours, get that ATP certification, the airline transport certification, not ATP, the flight school, and then you'll be eligible to go and get all of those jobs. Now, how long does that take? It really depends on the person and how often you're willing to fly and really how big your bank account is. I know people that have done it in 18 months, made it to 1,500 hours, but I mean, they're flying nonstop all the time. They got the money for it, or they got a good job for it, and stuff like that. Typically, what you're going to see people is about 2 to 3 years to kind of get yourself to that. So that's all I have for you this week. If you enjoyed this video, check out this one.